What is up, everybody? Today we are talking about the new potential EOS RP. Let's do it. All right, so I've been seeing a ton of pages on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere saying, this new Canon EOS RP is going to be announced February 14th, which is like a week away this year, which is pretty exciting because I'm actually filming on the EOS R right now, and I'm really excited to see some new mirrorless cameras from Canon, because in my opinion, even though I'm like a super Canon fan, I still am disappointed in the specs versus price ratio of the Canon cameras, of the mirrorless. I'm gonna talk about the potential specs and show you guys some pictures, and we'll go from there. First off, obviously, like I said before, the name is going to be the EOS RP. This is supposedly the front of the camera, and there's some more pictures I'll show you guys. The rumor is apparently true, and for one, they're gonna have the price around $1,600, which is probably a little bit much for this camera, but we'll get more into that in a little bit. It's full frame mirrorless camera, just like the EOS R. I also heard, or at least read, that this camera might be $1,300 instead of $1,600. So I'm not quite sure what the price is. I've seen more people say $1,600 than $1,300. It would be a lot better at $1,300, just like the EOS R would have been a lot better at $2,000 instead of $2,300 or even lower. So we've got a 26.2 megapixel sensor, which is just like the 6D Mark II. We've got a dual pixel CMOS autofocus, Digic 8 processor, which is a newer processor, which is good. Continuous shooting performance at 5 frames a second, which is pretty slow, in my opinion. That's very slow. ISO sensitivity 100 up to 40,000, which is pretty sweet. It expands up to 102,000. Still got the touch screen, flip out screen, just like all the other Canons is one thing they do really well. Dual sensing image stabilization, not sure quite what that means. And then here's the biggest thing. So the size of this camera is going to be pretty dang small. So in perspective, it's 132 millimeters by 85 millimeters by 70 millimeters, which is very, very small. It's smaller than the EOS R, smaller than the Sony a7 III, and it's probably one of the smallest mirrorless full frame cameras in general. It's meant to be the lightest weight full frame mirrorless camera. It's a 440 grams body only, and maybe around 485 with the battery. And the battery is an LE17 or something like that. I wish it was a different battery, because I use the LPE6 batteries in all my cameras and they last forever. But yeah, 440 grams is extremely, extremely light. So to put it in perspective, the a7 III weighs 650 grams. That's 210 grams lighter than the a7 III, which is already a pretty light camera. The Sony is 650 grams, which is 1.43 pounds. The weight of the EOS RP is 0.97 pounds. 0.97 pounds. It doesn't even weigh a pound with the battery in it. That is crazy. That's just, yeah. You can do the math on that. That's nothing. That is literally nothing. You could throw that in your pocket and it'd be like your cell phone, basically. Getting into it more, the kit lens is going to be the RF 24-105 f4. That's nothing new. And then if we scroll down here, we can see some pictures of the camera with the new lens. It doesn't look like it's gonna have the touch bar on it, which probably saves on some cost a little bit, and the size. It's got a wheel up top instead of the mode button that the EOS R has, so it's more traditional. I wish the EOS R had that on it, because I kind of like having the wheel up top rather than trying to change it on the screen. The back of it also looks just like, kind of like a 70D. This kind of reminds me of a 70D body, and then the 6D Mark II internals, I guess you could call it. It's got, minimal buttons. The front of it, as you can see, the lens is almost as big as the camera. This thing is massively small, if that makes any sense. I am seeing that the viewfinder might be OLED, which I'm not sure that the EOS R is. I don't think it is, but that would be pretty cool to have a nicer touchscreen. It's looking like it might have 4K at a 1.56 crop. If this camera has 4K, it's gonna be a game changer. 4K 1.56 crop. It's still a crop. I know you Sony fans, I don't have a crop. Yeah, I know, I'm jealous. It's all right. I still have wide angle lenses and it works out for me. My camera has a 1.7, I think, crop at 4K, so 1.56 would be a little bit nicer to have. And then on a side note, Canon looks like they might release 5 new RF lenses with this lineup, which is pretty dope because these lenses are gonna be pretty sweet, meaning they're gonna be cheaper. Right now, they only have the f2 lenses, which are really expensive, like more than the camera, which is, you know, they're nice. f2 is pretty sweet, but we're looking at an RF 15 to 35 2.8 IS, 24 to 70 f2.8 IS, 70 to 200 f2.8 IS, and 24 to 240 f4 to 6.3 IS. And then lastly, but not least, the 85 1.2 USM, so no IS. But still, 85, you know, that is the shiznit of lenses. The cool thing about these lenses is they're 2.8 IS, and they're probably going to be cheaper than, you know, the f2, because, you know, that 0.8 f, you pay more for that, you know? So deal with it. So here's some pictures. They're really blurry of the lenses that we're looking at. As you can see, the 70 to 200 is small, like it's not long. This is the 15 to 35. I'm not sure why they went with 15 instead of 16 to 35. 24 to 70, your typical lens. All of these have the control ring adapter on them in different spots. Now that we looked at all the specs, all the lenses, all the fun stuff, I'm gonna tell you guys what I think, my opinion. Might not matter to you, but you know, there might be some cool information you'll find out. So let's get in it. The way I see this camera is it's basically a cheaper version of the 6D Mark II. So here's the thing. So number one, the price. If it is $1,600, I feel like that is a bit much for this RP. It is really small and very light, which is a huge benefit, but then you have to buy an adapter or new lenses, so it's gonna cost you some money. I mean, look at the EOS R. It's almost the exact same thing as the 5D Mark IV, just a little bit better in spec-wise and have a few more features. And it was almost $1,000 cheaper, which is a huge benefit to buy the EOS R over the 5D Mark IV, along with the lightweightness. But if the EOS RP is $1,600, I have seen rumors that it being at $300 or $1,300, that would be a huge benefit. I mean, that $300 difference is enormous for this type of camera, especially because it's so small. The fact that it only does 5 frames per second is kind of ridiculous because the 6D Mark II does 6.5 frames per second. I'm assuming the compression rates will be a lot better due to the processor on this camera, especially in 4K, since the 6D Mark II does not do that. And then obviously the huge benefit is the weight of this camera. So I've got back problems, and having a camera that's so light, if I had it on a gimbal or anything, would be extremely nice because I wouldn't have to deal with like my shoulders falling off at the end of the day. So, but all in all about this camera, I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's a cool camera. I hope they come out with another camera. So if they're gonna come out with a 5D Mark IV equivalent, the EOS R, and they're gonna come out with a 6D Mark II equivalent, the EOS RP, then why wouldn't they come out with an EOS R version of the 1DX Mark II or something similar that's got that 120 frames per second that everybody wants? But apparently Canon doesn't listen to their customers, even though I keep buying their stuff. All in all, it does look like a nice camera. There's a few things that don't look that great about it. One being the price, and one being it's basically a 6D Mark II at the same exact price, just lighter. So we'll see what happens on February 14th, if they even announce anything. If you guys have any opinions about the EOS RP and you want to let me know, bad or good, put it in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Even though I'm a super Canon fan and I love them to death, I still will take their criticism because they do have some stuff to work on, and I'll tell you that right now. And if you like this content, hit the like button down below somewhere, and I would really appreciate it. I'm putting out more content like this every week, so let me know what you want to see next. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button because it would really help me share all this fun stuff with you guys, because if you don't subscribe, you don't see my stuff, and then what's the point, you know? Hit the button and the bell. I'll see you guys on the next one.